Hey, Alice, Living Universe, it's Xander, and welcome to another tier list. The one we did last week on all of our champions in the Alice Living Universe, WWE Universe mode went so well, I wanted to start making it like a pay-per-view week thing where we do a tier list on Tuesdays. And this one's just me this week because it's ARW. Ray, as I've said before, and I can finally just straight up say in a video that you're all going to watch, Ray has no involvement in ARW whatsoever. Like, he can occasionally throw a suggestion at me as a joke, but that's it. You can see I've got my ARW title with me. I did get an actual ARW title made for myself last year. And so this just seemed like, okay, I'm going to put it on my other shoulder, actually, because this is the shoulder that won't really be moving. So we got a tier list here. We are ranking every ARW pay-per-view, starting with Season 1, Episode 1 through Termination Chamber this year. Xandermania this year is not included because Xandermania hasn't happened yet. And so we've got 5 things here. We've got the very best, pretty good, it was all right, it could have been better, and it's best to forget. So, I'm going in chronological order of when these pay-per-views came out, when they premiered for the first time, whether it be on Twitch or on YouTube, because for those that don't know, ARW actually got its start on Twitch. But then Twitch got rid of the premiere feature, and so now we're here on YouTube. And that's actually what birthed the LS11 Universe, was ARW having to move to YouTube. So, let's start with Season 1, Episode 1. Now, it's called The Big Premiere, and while this isn't technically a pay-per-view, I consider it one. It took place on a Thursday. It was the first ever Thursday episode of ARW, and I consider it a pay-per-view because the first women's and men's world champions were crowned on this show, and this show featured the likes of Wario versus Little Mac, so weekly stuff, the formation of the team of Terminator and RoboCop for the first time. Again, it had a lot of weekly show stuff in it. It was really just to show you guys what a weekly ARW episode was going to look like, more than anything. I'm going to put it in pretty good, because ARW had to start somewhere. It definitely wasn't the very best, but it was a pretty good start to ARW. Now up next is Termination Chamber 2019. As you can see, I've gone back and revamped some thumbnails from ARW. I've gotten to Fight Back 2019. I have a lot to go. Essentially, I'm going to stop revamping thumbnails around Reality Check 2020. There are some that I don't think need to be redone, but there's a lot that do need to be redone. I redid Termination Chamber 2019 though. Termination Chamber 2019 was our first real pay-per-view, and I'm gonna put it in, it was all right, and I'll tell you guys why. Your women's title match was Captain Marvel defending against Princess Daisy. Bowser challenged Thanos for the world title, which I think was fine. It was a good match. I think people could have seen it if he'd taken it, but I think a lot of people knew going into that Thanos was going to be the world champion going into Xandermania. And then I think the show was just a little too predictable, is all I'm saying. And you had some throwaway matches on there, like the Mario Brothers versus the Outrealm Warriors, or whatever I called them, of Shang Tsung, or of Quan Chi and Scorpion, who broke up on their first night as a team and was the only time Quan Chi was ever seen in the ARW. So yeah, it was all right. It wasn't anything spectacular. Next up is Xandermania 2019, our first big Xandermania, and this one holds a special place in my heart because it was my first time making Xandermania an actual big deal on the channel. And I think this one, I feel like I put it in the very best, but at the same time, I think it's going to go pretty good. Superman Thanos, I think I was more excited for it than most people were. The Women's Fatal 5-Way wasn't even supposed to be that for the first... Like, the Women's Fatal 5-Way was just supposed to be Captain Marvel versus Wonder Woman one last time, but the game... This was back when I didn't play the matches, so I'll get into that in a moment. For the first few months of ARW, I let the game control itself, and I very rarely had input on who wins matches. I was just scheduling out matches, and I was building the show from there. So the game kept doing these auto run-ins with people like Cassandra and Samus and Bowsette that it eventually became the Fatal 5-Way on that show. Had throwaway matches like Green Lantern versus Deadpool, Little Mac and Mike Tyson. You know, it was a nice show. It was a lot of fun, but it definitely was not the very best. So next we're going to jump into Redemption 2019. This was where I started playing matches finally. I started it with the main event technically. And really, this isn't exactly where I started playing matches. It both is and isn't, if that makes sense. The main event is the only time I interfered in a match at all, and Fight Back was the first show where I controlled everything that happened. But Redemption, I don't really remember the match card that well. I know the Dragon Board had an open challenge that the Little Mac accepted. And then the main event had a cool ending segment, but it's a fairly forgettable show at best. So I'm gonna put it could have been better. It's definitely not bad enough to go in best to forget. There are shows that will be in best to forget, but that's not one of them. Fight Back 2019. That was the big singles push. That was the big world title push of Captain America, where his kind of season one spanning story started. Season one spanning story really got started in the ARW. And so it was a great match, I think, between him, Superman, and the Terminator. Superman won. Superman won a lot in season 2. We are into season 2 at this point. These were the only pay-per-views of season 1. I should have mentioned that. Really, season 1 should have been episode 1 through Xandermania 2020, but that's neither here nor there. Thumbnails are made at this point. I'm not changing them. So Fight Back also saw Bowser and Big Bad Bosses winning gold. So I think that was a very big point in the ARW. So I'm gonna put it in the bottom of it was all right. It could have been better, but I think it was just all right enough. Annihilation is best to forget. Our first Annihilation was not great. Superman Goku, I don't really know what compelled me to do that match. I don't even really like Dragon Ball. I know, shocker. I'm sure a lot of people actually probably thought I do like Dragon Ball, but no, I'm not the biggest fan of it. That's one of the only times ever that I can think of that a main event of an ARW pay-per-view ended in a no contest as well. And it was all to build up to the next show. The only other things that happened on the show was like Shaggy fought Captain Falcon. Bowser and Venom had a cage match at the beginning of the show that wasn't even scheduled as Bowser Venom. It was supposed to be Bowser Venom, but Dragonborn won the match against Venom, and I couldn't be bothered to fix it. So I just had Venom take out the Dragonborn, and it was kind of stupid. Big Bad Boss's title match ended in a count-out against the Mario Brothers. It was not great. It was honestly one of the weakest shows ARW has ever put on, and went straight into one of the other weakest, which is Shattered Dimensions. The Fatal 4-Way was the best thing on that show. It was the best thing on that show. Half the matches had this weird mood lighting on them for some reason. Half the matches weren't even announced before the show. It was pretty much the full first round of the women's tag team tournament, which is not a bad thing. The women's tag team tournament went really, really well, but I didn't announce that it was happening until that show. And it was in a subpar video package where it got announced as well. So that definitely was not the greatest show. I don't even remember who Captain Marvel was defending against at that show. Maybe it was She-Hulk or something. I can't remember. Captain Marvel, it was either this or Ranking Champions. So Captain Marvel's title run is definitely an interesting one to revisit one day. Our first Bash at the Beach event. And fun fact, Bash at the Beach will no longer be called that after this year. It's actually going to be called Bayside Beatdown starting in 2021 because Bash at the Beach is becoming an official show again for wrestling promotions. Same reason that Halloween Havoc isn't going to be a thing anymore after this year. Yay. Bash at the Beach 2019, I'm putting in the best. And the reason I'm putting in the best is because Bash at the Beach 2019 had the big heel turn of Captain Falcon that spanned for most of Season 2. Superman was finally defeated. Power Girl was crowned as the women's champion. She's still one of the best women's champions we've ever had. A banger of a match between Captain America and Iron Man for the Interdimensional title. Match after match was just great. The Beards of War winning the titles was great. I cannot really pick out much that I didn't like about Bash at the Beach 2019. And really, I can't pick a single thing I didn't really like from that show. Granted, there's some things I can't remember from that show, but I really liked that show overall. Revolution 2019. This show was plagued with some technical errors on Twitch. The show just cut out 10 minutes before it was supposed to. So I had to restream the last 10 minutes of it. Yeah, so for those of you that had to suffer through the issues with Termination Chamber this year, that wasn't the first time we've had technical issues in ARW. Revolution was also the first time that the Women's Championship main evented an ARW show. It was a 30-minute Iron Woman match between Power Girl and Captain Marvel. It was a great match. had the formation of the Deadly Alliance between Captain Falcon, Incineroar, Scorpion, and Sub-Zero. I had to look at my posters to remember who was on what teams. Wario and Waluigi winning the titles. Did Waluigi also win the... No, he didn't. I was going to say they also won the Interdimensional on that show. No, he didn't. Bash at the Beach also had the reveal of Waluigi stealing the Infinity Gauntlet, which I think is one of the funniest stories we've ever done, because it made Waluigi a serious threat. Like, this guy became a serious threat. Anyway, Sunbelt Revolution at the top pretty good, because I can't remember much more than the main event. And I think what qualifies the show as being the very best is you've got to remember the card top to bottom. And we're going to rearrange it like that. Halloween Havoc 2019, the final show on Twitch for ARW. Now, I'm not going to put this in the very best. This one's also going to go pretty good. Halloween Havoc 2019 had the Hell in a Cell match between Batman and Captain Falcon. I debuted in ARW for the first time as a character, assisting Sephiroth to a win over Giovanni, which was a storyline that we'll talk more about across all of these shows. Yeah, I got a little too self-insert happy during season 2. That's my own fault. But anyway, I debuted on the show. Waluigi became the first and only at this point double champion in ARW, winning the tag titles and the interdimensional title. I thought that was a really fun story. It built Captain America versus Captain Falcon, which you'll see became the story for the next couple shows. So yeah, Halloween Havoc was a great show. Survival 2019 is next. It had a great video package started off, set to Eye of the Tiger, and I think we didn't even get caught with that song somehow, which is insane that we didn't. It was one of the only times ARW's had a video package. ARW's really only had video packages for a couple of shows. We had it with episode 1, Xandermania, Survival, and Xandermania again. And I don't think we've had any since. And we won't have any for Xandermania this year, just because I didn't have time. I've been very busy. But so Survival, this show, the whole story going into it was, can Captain America find a new team? Because the Avengers ditched him because he kept getting them all beaten up by the Deadly Alliance. And the great plot twist at the end of it was all a setup. The Avengers never broke up. It was all a setup for Captain Falcon to get this false sense of security, and for Captain America to bring out Stark, Hulk, and Thor, and for the Avengers to assemble, essentially. Other than that, we had Team Xander Sephiroth versus Team Big Bad Bosses. The women's tag titles technically changed hands, but didn't. Lara Croft had gone out injured, so Wonder Woman found Captain Marvel, who returned from a 2-month hiatus. This was the last time we'd seen her, and she and Wonder Woman won the tag titles. What else happened? Samus and Power Girl had a great match for the women's title, if I remember. So I'm going to put it at the top of, put it at the end of pretty good. It definitely wasn't, actually, I think I'm going to put it in the best. I think it was actually the best. Nemesis 2019, our filler December pay-per-view, as I've called it. December just always gets filler shows because no one's watching in December because it's Christmas time. So Nemesis, it was the show where Captain America won the ARW title, and I had him win it on this show because I wanted to draw some extra eyes to ARW. This actually was the week before Christmas that this show happened, actually. The Saturday before Christmas, I believe. And Christmas was, in fact, I'm just curious enough to where I'm going to check that. I'm going to fact check myself on that real quick. So we're going to be sitting on the same screen for a moment here. December 21st, so yeah, just a couple days before Christmas that show happened. And I did that because I wanted like the final image of ARW before Christmas to be Captain America holding up the ARW title, having vanquished Captain Falcon. And Captain Falcon both did and didn't turn face after that. I say kind of turned tweener after that. The Deadly Alliance didn't last much longer after this as well. But it was a great show. The tournament, the Number One Contenders tournament came to an end on this show as well. Sephiroth destroyed me on it. So I'm going to put this one in the top of pretty good. Royal Rumble 2020, definitely the best. Royal Rumble 2020 was so good. It was one of the last ARW shows before 2020 became 2020. We had the Rumble wins of Arnold and Samus. Arnold, one of the only times where the favorite to win the Rumble has been built as the favorite and actually won it. in like any Royal Rumble I've ever seen. And I just kind of when it came down to him and Tony Stark, I stopped playing and let the game decide, because Captain America versus Iron Man as the main event of Xandermania, I was okay with. Terminator versus Captain America also had history, and I was okay with that main eventing as well. So I went with either of those, and we got Arnold in the end, and I think that was the ultimate idea, was to have Arnold win the Rumble. Samus also began her story to becoming the arguably the best women's champion we've had in ARW. Spoilers for if I ever do a champions tier list. And that brings us on to Termination Chamber 2020. I don't remember much of this show, honestly. I remember it being a big Xandermania lead-in show. I remember Wonder Woman accident. I remember having to re-record the whole show. And I think if the show had gone the way of the... So for those that don't know, for those that don't follow me on Twitter or haven't followed me on Twitter when this happened, ARW used to be recorded on the PlayStation 4. And it was recorded on the PlayStation 4 with PlayStation 4's capture, my microphone plugged into the PS4. So I kind of sounded like this the whole time. I sounded like there was something covering my mouth during commentary the whole time. And that changed. We'll get into that in a minute. That changed after a certain point in time. Termination Chamber, when I would finish recording ARW, I would plug my camcorder into my PlayStation, and it would all go onto an SD card. And the SD card would get plugged into my laptop, and I would edit on my laptop. I also was not editing ARW on my PC yet. I don't know why. And so ARW was on an SD card, and I edited the first episode of the Build-Up to Termination Chamber that year. And then my laptop slipped off my bed at my old house and went SD card first into the floor and broke the SD card in half. Lost all the footage from that month. So I had to re-record the whole month of ARW. And it was really awkward having to re-record it. And I had to copy the ARW universe mode to make the series again. So Termination Chamber holds a weird place in my heart, because had this original filming of Termination Chamber gone through, I was in the final two of the title match, and that would have definitely made it best to forget. But it was Kratos and Captain America in the end, and seeing where that went now definitely makes me want to put it in. At least it was all right, if not pretty good. It definitely wasn't the best. So I'm going to put it at the bottom of pretty good. Actually, I'll put it in it was all right, because definitely the weakest Termination Chamber show. The thumbnail shows that. I will revamp that thumbnail probably this week, if I feel like it. I've learned not to say this week, because people are still asking me where that Bobby Roode rebooking video is. I haven't had time to write it, so it will happen when it happens. Please, everyone, stop asking me about it. It's getting annoying. Xandermania 2020. We are now at the second Xandermania show. The ending of Season 2 with ARW as well. So Xandermania Season 2 had a lot on it. The main event of Captain... It was the first Xandermania to have voice-acted video packages. I hired a voice actor to do lines for Captain America and Sephiroth, whereas I voiced myself and Terminator. Arnold was done through a lot of filters to make me sound like a robot. I'm going to put Xandermania 2020 in the... It was the best one out of all these so far. Had another Fatal 5-Way for the women's title. Again, unintentional, but I think it was the better of the Fatal 5-Ways, for sure. It was the first show to have the Bow Memorial Battle Royals. That holds an emotional place in my heart. It had the 3 Stages of Hell match between me and Sephiroth. By the way, I'm looking at it because there's a Xandermania 2020 poster right up there above me. The surprise reveal of the 1-in-99 Club being in the title match, which they're in the tag title match again this year somehow. Oh boy. So yeah, it was honestly, it's one of my favorite shows we've ever done. On to Redemption 2020. Redemption 2020, I don't like to think about that much. As you can see, I was in the main event of it because I beat Sephiroth at Xandermania. Again, I don't look back on my time as being a top star in ARW too fondly, because I realize I really shouldn't have done it, obviously. I shouldn't have made myself the focal point of ARW. But I did, so... Oh, wait, I should have been in presentation mode this whole time. My bad. So, sorry about that. And I'm not re-recording this full thing, given we're 20 minutes in. So, oh, great. It reordered everything. It's fine. So, Redemption 2020. It's not best to forget because it had some great matches like Little Mac Spider-Man and Laura Croft versus Wonder Woman and Samus defending. Who did Samus defend against? Melina. So I'm going to put it at the bottom. It could have been better. Top, it could have been better, maybe. Fight Back 2020 came next. I'm going to put Fight Back 2020 at pretty good because I didn't know The Witcher was going to win the Royal Rumble next year yet. He and Arnold tore the house down in that matchup. It was a fantastic match between these two. I'll even argue it had the best Xander Sephiroth match out of all of them on it. Like, Sephiroth and I had a lot of matches, and I think this one was our best one, where it ended with him throwing me off the stage and me hurting my neck. Of course, I was back the next night because, of course, I was, and cost Arnold the title on accident. But yeah, I just think from everything on that show, Fight Back 2020 was one of the better shows. It wasn't good enough to be in the very best, but the show itself was a lot of fun. Next thing was the newest pay-per-view name we'd created at the time. 2020 saw the removal of Shattered Dimensions and Nemesis and the introduction of Reality Check. Reality Check is essentially ARW's Money in the Bank because you've been told you've been hit by a reality check. And then check like money. Get it? It's funny, damn it. Laugh, damn it. First pay-per-view on the PC, filled with mods, took place atop Avengers Tower. It's going to do so again this year. Don't know about next year. Can't make any promises about next year. So Reality Check, I would almost argue very best. But then I'm also arguing pretty good. I'm going to put it very best. 1, because it was our first Reality Check. 2, the Arnold Sephiroth match was great. 3, if I just get over myself about the whole, if I just get over myself about the whole me Sephiroth thing, if I ignore the fact it was me and just look at the story between me and Sephiroth was told pretty well here. I'd accidentally helped him win the title. He coerced me into being his friend for a while. Essentially, it was a very Gargano-Ciampa style feud is what I was going for. And I think I pulled that off with him getting me the interdimensional title match. I didn't want to win it with his help. I attacked him. That led to our title match. Giovanni winning the Reality Check briefcase, I think, was a shock. I think a lot of people probably thought Iron Man was going to win it. Just with it being atop Avengers Tower and it being Iron Man. I think a lot of people expected that. But yeah, I think Reality Check was one of our better shows. The triple threat between Captain Marvel, Wonder Woman, and Laura Croft was great as well. That leads us into Annihilation: One Last War. Episode 100 took place on my birthday. I won the title and then was immediately cashed in on. So I got my moment to have the ARW title, but then I immediately ended my story right there to make sure I didn't become the focal point of ARW for too long. Little Mac and Spider-Man again tore the house down. Samus and Laura Croft again tore the house down. The squash match between Stark and Giovanni threw off expectations that Giovanni would be cashing in. What else happened on that show? It was a lot of fun on that show. Batman and Superman beat the Tyrannical Titans and longest reigning tag team champions in history. So I'm going to put that also in very best. Now, very best is getting a little full here, but don't worry. I don't think there's many more pay-per-views going in very best. In fact, you'll probably see a couple go in these two pretty soon. Bash at the Beach 2020 is all right. It was all right. Captain America made his return and beat Terminator. I mean, the Big Bad Boss's cinematic match was fun, but no, Giovanni's title reign was nothing to write home about, essentially, is what I'm thinking. Giovanni's world title reign, he lost a lot more than he won. He was a very JBL champion, is kind of what I would call him. If even like a more Miz-level champion. He's brought in Jesse and James as well. A lot of people have gone on record and told me that they didn't like Giovanni as champion. They thought his reign wasn't great. And I agree. He was one of the worst ARW champions. I don't know why I put the belt on him. I think I put the briefcase on him with the idea of he'd be taking the belt off of me. Up next was Revolution 2020. Now, pretty good. Captain America beating Giovanni was a great feel-good moment. The women's six-pack was a bit of a cluster. Little Mac and Guile didn't have a very memorable title retention. They won by roll-up. The women's tag titles was an awkward 30-minute start to the show. It could have been better, I think. And I hate to do that because it being Captain America's second title win, the first two-time ARW champion, but, like, it could have been better. Halloween Havoc 2020, a show that brought a lot of new people into ARW. It was a lot of people's first ARW special. Aqua won the ARW Women's title in the main event. It was supposed to go. She was supposed to be holding it through Xandermania this year. Like, she was supposed to be going into Xandermania this year as the champion, not Black Cat. We'll get into that in a minute. With that hindsight of Aqua's title reign didn't go as long as it was supposed to, and Captain America having a throwaway match with Sephiroth. The only memorable things on that show were that Miles Morales was finally the one to beat Symbiote Spider-Man and win the interdimensional title. And I think that was it. Aqua's title win. It could have been better. Again, could have been. It just barely could have been better is how I look at that one. We move on now to Survival 2020, and this one, this one either belongs in pretty good or very best. The poster alone makes it the very best for me. It's one of my favorite ARW posters. I've got it printed out somewhere and ready to frame. I bought a frame for it, and then the frame fell out of the trunk of my car when I was getting stuff out and shattered. So sucks. Kratos' title win was built so long with that impassioned promo by Ben, the guy who voices Captain America in ARW. Whenever I have someone voicing him. The big reveal of Wonder Woman hadn't been a heel, it had been Mystique. That was a bit of a cluster, and that really never got paid off on. I feel a little bit bad for never paying off on that story more than the one time, that one match that got thrown away. I'm just trying to think of what really stood out about this show other than the main event. It was a one-match show. Johnny Cage and Captain Falcon won the tag titles on an audible. So it was pretty good. I will put it in pretty good. I'll compromise and put it in pretty good rather than very best. Next up is going to be Christmas Chaos, and it's just best to forget that one. That was we needed a December special. The thumbnail alone shows you it was a very half-assed show. I didn't know who was going to be challenging for titles on it. I mean, you had Bowser versus Miles Morales for the interdimensional title. Miles wasn't losing to Bowser. Bowser hadn't won a match in a while. Thor and Kratos, that was just a matter of former tag team champions. Let's go ahead and just give Kratos a throwaway feud. Sorry, Thor. Tifa and Aqua was just to build up for Chun-Li versus Aqua. Clearly, that never happened. I think that actually happened last week on ARW, so never mind. But yeah, Tifa Aqua clearly ended. Was the beginning of the end for Aqua's title reign, unfortunately. The mixed tag tournament didn't even really feature on the show more than one match. Johnny Cage and Captain Falcon defending against Wrestle Talk. I love Luke and Lori, but they aren't meant to be tag team title contenders. They're there because they're my friends. And that brings us on to these two pay-per-views. The last two. Royal Rumble 2021 is the best pay-per-view we've done so far, and no one can tell me otherwise. Kratos and Spider-Man, hell of a match. It was the biggest turnout for an ARW premiere thus far. The Rumble winner of Geralt was unexpected. A lot of people thought Bane or Iron Man or someone else was going to win it. A lot of people thought Arnold was going to go the distance from number 1. And fun fact, he was actually supposed to go from number 1 to number 10 and be eliminated by Captain America to finally be like the penultimate moment of their rivalry from all these years, starting at Fight Back, finally ending at the Rumble 2 years later almost. Just kind of the final nail in that coffin, but Jason threw me out. I didn't have any reversals. And then, hey, you know what? It gave birth to the biggest meme in ARW of Jason was eliminated by a block. And, yeah, so I think that's okay. I think that's fine. And then finally, and then, of course, you had the shock win of Black Cat winning the women's title. No one, including me, expected that. I didn't expect Aqua to kick it. I expected Aqua to kick out of that roll-up, and she didn't. And so I just rolled with it from there, and Black Cat's been ARW Women's Champion since because of it, because She's my girlfriend's favorite Marvel character, and that got me some brownie points with my girlfriend. And also, I like Black Cat a little bit more than I like Aqua anyway. So it's fine. This was also the last show before I started building the Wall of Champions behind me, which is starting with Captain Marvel and has gone all the way to Chun-Li because I count the Royal Rumble win as a career highlight. What it is I haven't explained this wall before, so I will. I'm going to do this so you guys can see it a little better. This wall behind me back here is figurines, usually pop vinyls with the exception of characters that don't have any. Characters in the ARW who have won championships or have big career highlights. And so it starts with Captain Marvel. And I've been working on building it up. I just don't have pops of all the characters or figures of all the characters yet. Anyway, back to the things. We've just hit 30 minutes. Whoops. The final show for now, because Xandermania is this weekend, Termination Chamber 2021. Now, in terms of a premiere, it's best to forget this show. But that's not, whoops. Okay, not letting me put it back down here. Cool. In terms of a premiere, it's best to forget. In terms of a show, it's pretty good. And I say this because both Termination Chamber matches were absolute bangers. The interdimensional title match on the show built to this ladder match that we've got going on this weekend, which I'm so excited for that ladder match, by the way. Like, you wouldn't even believe how excited I am for that ladder match. I'm just now realizing I've only got 20 minutes, so I've got to leave my house, and I got to shower, so I need to wrap this thing up. But yeah, so both chamber matches were great. The tag team title match, was there one? Yeah. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy were unexpected contenders. So unexpected that people thought they might actually win. You had the kind of, oh my God, it's happening of Wondercroft, the first ever women's tag champions who never lost the titles, reuniting and officially setting their sights on the tag titles. I'd almost argue very best, but I think the premiere, which if you didn't see it, the premiere was so bad. YouTube was having errors with the premieres that day. And it happened during the hours of my show where it was buffering. And it only buffered through the whole show. And it finally stopped buffering in the main event. But I just asked everyone so nice. I was like, please stop watching and we'll try again tonight at 6. And so we had to restream it. But ultimately, that's how I think ARW has done so far. I think when you've got more pay-per-views in Very Best and Pretty Good than in Could Have Been Better and Best to Forget, I think that's fine. I think that's fine. So if you want to tell me what you think, you can follow me on Twitter here at XanderLS11. As always, don't forget to subscribe to ARW or to LS11 Universe. We are on the hill to 500 subscribers. It's a very slow climb up the hill lately. We've really been struggling. So if you tell your friends and you can try and get people to subscribe to the channel, that'd be great. We have a lot that we want to do at 500 subs. We have some special stuff we got planned. We really want to hit that soon. Thank you all for watching. I've been Xander, and that was a tier list.